And welcome everybody to another episode of the Cripple Connection podcast. As always, my name is Cody Lashley. You can find me on Twitter at CodyLac, CodyLac. I'm joined as always with my partner in crime, Jeffrey Redmond. Jeffrey, what's going on, dude? Another episode.
Yeah, another episode. We got some games to run through. Anyway, you can find me on Twitter at JeffroRed. Yeah.
Check them out. Check them out. And as always, if you've been following what we do, or even if you're new here, if you like the content, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and that helps to get us seen by more people. So, Jeffrey, today, well, first let me start with this. We made this podcast to talk about games from the disabled perspective, and I figured this would be a good time just to show how I play shooter games. This is a quad stick. It's normally made for people who are quadriplegic, which I'm not. But for people that have no use of their hands or any of their fingers or anything like that, it's basically just you can move it back and forth, up and down, left and right with your mouth. And there's a bunch of different blow sip options, so you can map different buttons and different coordinates to different parts of the quad stick to be able to play games. And I use this on the computer. I use it for everything from shooters, like Fortnite I've used it for. But I've also been playing some Black Desert Online. You ever heard of that, Jeffrey? Black Desert?
I have.
Yeah, I
need to good things about it.
Yeah,
so
I need to.
check it out.
I need to get you on there with me.
Yeah.
Because that's a fun game, and we've been I've been playing that with a buddy of mine, and I use the mouse and the quad stick to pretty much kind of navigate and do whatever, make all kinds of little shortcuts. And there it is. We've talked about controller adjusting before with both Xbox and PlayStation and how they're better on some aspects than others. But I wanted to make it a point one episode to at least show this, because I know there are people, because of the technology today, there are far more ways for everyone of all ability range to be able to play. And, that's fun for cripples like us, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, man. So let's move on this conversation to what we are going to be talking about today. Xbox just put out a brand new trailer for some of the new content coming to the Xbox Series X, which, Jeffrey, I wanted to bring this up to you first. My God, what a terrible name. Is that the official name for the new Xbox? Is Xbox Series X?
As far as I'm aware, I don't think so. I think it's going to be their thing. I hope it changes. But to me, Xbox has never had very good naming conventions. Like the 360, so you're going back to point one. The 360 doesn't make sense. And then you've got the Xbox One. It's like,
it really has been.
Which one are you talking about? The original Xbox or the Xbox?
It's definitely, it's been weird, but also it doesn't roll off your tongue.
Not at all.
It doesn't, Xbox Series X, whereas you could just say PS5.
Right.
It's not very sexy rolling off the tongue, but
no.
Nonetheless, they put out a brand new trailer with some new titles, some working titles, and inevitably some that are going to be cross-platform. This was not a bunch of exclusives for Microsoft, but we're just going to kind of run through this game by game of what we saw, and then kind of at the end we'll talk a little bit about the consoles in general and what we're expecting and excited for from this next cycle of titles. By the way, the video has over 1 million views, 44,000 likes, and 32,000 dislikes. So, I don't know.
That's a rough ratio.
I have not delved into the comment section to...
I refuse to look at YouTube comments. So, yeah.
It would seem as though, based off of first glance, that people are upset that there wasn't a lot of... It felt like trailers more than they were actual gameplay. And I understand that. Yeah, I understand that criticism, and it didn't feel like they landed with a. And we're gonna go through all of them here and talk about them a little bit, but it didn't feel like a press conference that made you go, "Whoa, dude! This next cycle of games are gonna be just incredible." Like there wasn't one. There was no Halo shown. It was mentioned, kind of in jest. But yeah, what kind of stuck out to you about the press conference, Jeffrey?
Just what you said. A lot of it just seems unremarkable. There are a few things on here that I like because I'm a twisted and sick individual.
Yeah, same here.
There's some horror stuff on here that I'm looking forward to. But in general, it just seems like stuff we've seen before, just done smoother, which I think is a general conversation to have about the consoles. We may have even mentioned it before about how I don't know how much better graphics can get. So a lot of this is probably going to come down to which performs better. But we'll get into that a little bit later because we're going to
we will. And what I'll do is in the description box below, I'll leave a link to the press conference, and that shows all the games that we're reacting to. Jeffrey, you have the list in front of you, and so do I. What's the first game up on the slate that Microsoft showed?
It's called Bright Memory Infinite.
Yeah, and this one's a weird one. It has a lot of things. A lot of things going on, and I don't know what your initial thoughts was, but do you remember when I think it was before the PlayStation 3 came out, Sony had that I think it was Killzone. It was a kill, and it was so beautiful and just incredibly rendered, but everyone kind of understood that you're not watching a gameplay trailer, you're watching a pre-rendered cinematic,
right?
And I kind of had a lot of vibes from Bright Memory Infinite, but also it just kind of felt sporadic, just all over like it doesn't know what kind of game it's trying to be.
Well, and see, that's the thing. I don't know if you've ever played this, but I got a Bulletstorm vibe from it, which, if a major mechanic in that game was like using a lasso and bringing in enemies and then killing them that way, and that's definitely something that was on there. It's also a shooter, so that's why I put it on there as well. But in like toward the end, it started turning into like a racing simulator. I'm like,
and then, it goes from a shooter, and you're shooting guys with guns, and you have a mechanical hand. Then all of a sudden, you're fighting like a Spartan with the shield and a sword, like. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm judging a little too harshly.
Some kind of dystopian thing, maybe?
Yeah, maybe I'm judging a little too harsh, a little too early. But it just seems like for the start of a console cycle, a brand new one, Microsoft wanted to have a game that was, hey, it's a broad appeal, flashy, kind of, hey, are you into shooting? Are you into sword fighting? Hey, are you also into race cars? Well, boy, do we have a title for you? We have one for you. And I mean, I didn't come away feeling very excited for this because I have no idea what the fuck it is. Like, it's so all over the map. It didn't give me a lot of excitement.
Yeah, it was a bit all over the place. I think even in the trailer it says based on technology that's coming. So like, I mean, like render technology. Like they haven't even figured out like exactly. I don't think they even know what they want this game to be to begin with. I think they're as confused as we are. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Not much more to say. You have anything else you want to add?
I mean, it's I don't want to prematurely judge a title before I've seen too much of what it is and what it's about. It's from a studio at FYOD dash. It's a crazy studio that I've never heard before.
Yeah, me neither.
So yeah, again, I'm not gonna be too harsh on it, but just based on my first impression, like there's not much to grab onto. It looks like that's the type of title that's in danger of being trying to be proficient at all, but a master at none. And I don't know if it's going to be able to execute and really fire on all cylinders.
Yeah, but I completely agree with you.
So I don't know if how you feel about racing games in general, Jeffrey. But I've had fun with a lot of them before. I remember when the PlayStation 3 first launched. I had I even forget the game that came with it. It was a part of the bundle, but there was a racing game. I mean, and even back to Need for Speeds and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I played my fair share of Burnout.
I've enjoyed those two. But the next game that Xbox shows is Dirt, I believe.
It's Dirt 5.
Dirt 5.
So Dirt has been around for quite a while. If you're subscribed to PlayStation Plus, I think it was either last month or the month before, they had Dirt Rally Racing on there, which is part of this series. So apparently it's just literally dirt racing, car dirt racing. I don't really have anything to say about it. I'm not a race expert. I enjoy them from time to time, but I have to be in the mood for them. They have a lot of mechanical things going on, like mechanical skill that is just far beyond my physical capability. So, I mean, unless it's Mario Kart and they've got like steering options and shit, like there's no way.
I definitely. I mean, I'm the type of person that I like a little bit of all kinds of genres. Like every genre has a few titles that are for me. And I used to love Burnout, Need for Speed Underground, but the more rally car kind of feel with like the off-road ATVs and the dirt bikes, like I don't know, that was just never really my flavor.
It looks nice though.
It does. Looks nice. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying too, that whenever you launch a next generation console, you want to have a few titles that have broad appeal and kind of touch on a lot of different fan bases. And again, for me, this is just kind of ticking another box for them for a release slate.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. There's nothing really that stood out. Like I said, though, it was pretty much a trailer. We didn't see a lot of gameplay here, which is kind of sad.
Yeah. But. So again, I'll make it a point to post the link to the video in the description down below. I highly recommend that if you're listening or watching this, you also watch the trailer kind of as we're talking about it, because the next one was by far, out of everything that I saw, was the one that I was down with the most. I mean, I really got a great vibe from it. It's from EBO Software, and this is called Scorn. And oh my god, it felt like I was, dude, it felt like a Tool album became a video game. Like, dude, the imagery is just so kind of dark and existentialist, kind of alien bleak.
Exactly. I kind of felt violated after watching it.
It's hardcore.
It's really strange, and I don't know exactly what it's trying to be. But it's got a very alien vibe. So if you've seen Alien, then there's like this whole thing about like, I don't know, they connected a tube to something and it came back alive, and there's the dead pregnant thing, and what the
I got a bit of a Matrix vibe from it. Like when Neo opens up in the pod, and I kind of got a somewhat of a Matrix vibe from it, but it's very gothic, it's very dark. Originally, Jeffrey, I thought that maybe this was going to be like an Attack on Titan game. There's a point like when it pulls out and it shows these faces with all of this, I don't know what it is, like dried, curdled blood vines like coming out of the eyes and the mouth. And the faces looked like the Titans from Attack on Titan.
I agree. I didn't even
straight
think of that,
up.
but
Yeah,
they did.
So that's, I kind of thought that's what it was, but man, it gets so creepy toward the middle. There's a point where you see this he's like a little guy stuck in a little walker body or something, but you see his eyes behind this film, this like fleshy film that's covering him, and you
disgusting.
look, and you look through it and you see his eyes. And I mean, right now, this is, I mean, if you look at all the detail in the background, like it felt like they were showing off a level.
Yeah, like
clearly. This is what this game will look like once you're in it. Like it felt like it was end engine.
Yep. Definitely. Still don't know what kind of game it's gonna be. They didn't really give into that, but heck, even if it's a walking sim, I'll take it, because that's just imagery alone reminds me a lot of like anything that George Romero or John Carpenter has done.
Yes.
Or hell, it's even got some H.P. Lovecraft like cosmic horror shit vibes going on there, so I'm all down for that.
Have you heard of that guy Geiger something or another? There's a very famous artist.
The artist, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
I can't think of the name,
they even did a documentary about it on Netflix, which I don't know if I ever finished. But it was like this surrealist horror painter and sculptor. I believe something Geiger. Someone, if anyone's listening in the comment section and post it down below. But I got a lot of those kinds of vibes from it. That's it. It's our Geiger.
Took me a minute.
This, to me, based on what I've seen, and again, there's no gameplay, so it's like I'm not gonna judge, too quick and heap all kinds of praises on it. But out of all of the things that they had shown, it felt the one that was, wow, this is showing off what the levels and the processing power of these next generation titles are going to be able to do. Because that was incredible to look at.
Yeah, it's a very good looking game. Scared the crap out of me. I mean, visually, and that's hard to do because I'm a horror fan. So like, even I had to like step back on that one and say, "Whoa, what's going on here?" So I like it. I'm intrigued. I am really intrigued. Well, Cody, you are our resident football expert of the two of us. So is there anything that you wanted to say about Madden 21?
So technically, there is a game to talk about before Madden, but
there is.
It's so kind of.
Oh shit!
It didn't. But I mean, dude, I was gonna let you talk about it because I really had no feelings on it. It didn't seem like it looked like a spaceship shooter.
It is. It's a spaceship shooter. I'm sorry, I'm not looking at my list properly. Yeah,
no, you're cool. I mean, hey, I'm ready to skip this and go to Madden also. But let's talk about it for a second.
It's called Rise as One. It's a shooter. It's a spaceship shooter. A flight simulator spaceship shooter thing. These are not my cup of tea. I think they look great in terms of like I love gigantic space battles and shooting down space pirates and shit, but I'm not very good at them. Flight controls and disability do not go hand in hand. I will tell you that.
They damn sure don't. I mean, and I think that we should say everything looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Like everything that we've seen, there's nothing that looks bad. Yeah, no, not at all. How would you say this? Chorus?
It's something like that. Yeah, I'm not even sure, to be honest.
It's for right now. We'll just say it's a V instead of a U, but I don't know what the hell word that would be.
Is it? Okay, that's my phone.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's CHORVS Chorvis.
Chorvis, yeah.
Rise as One.
Yeah.
Oh, but then it says in the URL chorus. The game. So I don't know why the hell you use a V as a U. How stupid.
That's strange.
Chorus Rise is One.
Yep.
And that's a big nothing burger for me, dude. I just
I mean, the story might be interesting because we had a pilot who was kind of like hearing voices in her head, So
right.
I don't know if this is going to be like a psychological thing going on with it, but typically, I will tell you this: that most spaceship shooter games do not have the greatest storylines. So,
Yeah.
if you're in it just for the story, I would not recommend it. Probably watch a playthrough of it somewhere down the line, unless that's kind of your thing. But
Yeah.
I'm not, nothing really grabbed me about that. Okay, so I guess we can move on to
Yeah, we're gonna just move
Madden
on to
21.
Madden, and our next game is led off by the former NFL MVP and the current Super Bowl MVP, Patrick Mahomes, who is basically the face of football right now.
Right.
And a little backstory, I guess on me a little bit. A lot of you, or some of you who watch this might already know me from the C3 Carolina Cat Chronicles podcast every Tuesday night at 9, and we talk about Panther football. And when I started to really get into football and learn about it, Madden is kind of how I did it. I learning about play designs and route concepts and protection and substitution. So I do have a little bit of a soft spot in my heart for Madden, but I'm also not a yearly buyer either.
Right.
So I don't buy the game every year, and I don't play it as religiously as I used to.
Right.
It does seem as though the appeal to this game going forward is how much they're trying to make it as real as possible.
Yeah.
And to the point where you don't know if you're watching a football game, if you just walk in the room, or if someone's playing Madden.
Right.
The physics of the players themselves and how they move and fold, and I mean, it shows Pat reaching for the end zone, and it looks incredible, man. I mean, it's Madden is always going to be a flagship title for football fans, and going into I mean, the fact that they put out a title every year with an updated roster, Madden is going to be the poster child for not only sports in video games, but what they're able to do from a graphical standpoint. They use Madden and NBA to really show that off as much as possible.
Yep. I thought it was kind of cool. You mentioned how it's a yearly franchise and stuff. I thought it was kind of cool to the lead up to the game. They were literally going through like all the different iterations of Madden,
all the Maddens, and showing you how long
I thought that was cool because they showed like Madden 95, on the Super Nintendo, which is where I got my start in football. So again, I'm not a sports guy, but I have obviously huge respect for Madden. It is the quintessential football experience. So,
it's to the point now where it's completely embraced by the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, they have tournaments, and now that this COVID-19 thing is going on, they have players playing each other.
Almost
definitely. They update. I mean, they let you do everything in Madden. They let you play as the general manager. They let you be the owner of a football team. They let you make a player. I mean, it's all there. They try to immerse you in football as much as possible. I do hope that their character creator is a little bit better, because I do have Madden 19. I bought it when a friend of mine came down, and the character creation, like, I didn't feel there were as many options as other games to really fully flesh out your player and make them look or feel different than others. So just a small little gripe about a game that's sure to sell a crazy amount of numbers.
Yeah, it's gonna sell regardless. So.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear your take on this next one.
Yes,
I love weird as fuck sometimes.
Yep.
And this next game definitely hit those weird as fuck vibes.
Yeah, this is
in a much different way from Scorn, mind you.
Yeah. This is Vampire Bloodlines 2, the Masquerade. Vampire Bloodline Masquerade was a it was a PC game and it was buggy as shit, but people loved it. Like, there's a whole modding community around the original game, and people have made it workable. And there's still people playing it to this day. But basically, it's a vampire role playing game. So,
Yeah.
it reminds me of something like Fallout or Skyrim, sort of in that sense, where you can go anywhere, do anything, talk to all these NPCs and stuff. But yeah, so it's a vampire simulator, but it's not a shitty vampire simulator. You're not gonna be walking around sparkling from the sun or shit like that.
Yeah,
These are
not
real vampires.
it won't have the Twilight symptoms.
Right. The cool thing about this though is like there's all different kinds of powers, all different kinds of upgrades you can do. I know that from the previous game, and I saw some of that in the trailer as well. Of course, you wouldn't know that unless you knew the previous one, but I saw a lot of upgrade potential. The game has always been very much a case of you can handle any situation how you want to. So if you want to be a bloodthirsty dick and kill everybody, you can do it. If you want to be the peaceful, negotiator, you can do that too.
Are you into vampires, Jeffrey?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
I am. I'm into anything horror. So, yeah, I'm the resident horror guy. So, vampires have always been a fascination point for me because it seems like everybody has a slightly different take on the genre.
Right.
But yeah, I'm interested in this one. At first, I didn't know what the hell it was. Before the name popped up, it kind of reminded me of I was thinking that game We Happy Few, that one that had come out a few years ago. It looked a lot like that. Like somebody was like hyped up on drugs and seeing shit, and then all of a sudden,
did that game ever come out? We Happy Few?
Yes,
it did,
and it did terrible. But I digress.
Oh man, that's disappointing, dude. I don't know why I was still thinking that hadn't come out yet.
Yeah. It was officially released. I don't remember the date, but
with
it
all the
was
crazy mimes and shit, right?
Yeah, that one. So
okay.
it looked like that one at first, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" Because people are on strings, like the puppet strings. I'm like, "What the shit is this?" And then the title came up, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense." I'm excited for this one. Like I said, I like vampires and I like role playing games, and those two mashed together seem like a great time. Hopefully, it's not a bug ridden mess when they release it this time around. So we'll see.
And and credit to it. I feel like it's one of the only games that actually made it a point to show you how this game is going to play.
Stuff.
Yeah, it actually, and but by the way, so in delving and looking at the comments more, and kind of realizing this as we're going through, part of the backlash is that so many of these games, there really is no gameplay, and they sold this as a first look at Xbox Series X gameplay. And there isn't a lot of gameplay to be had. If they would have said that, hey, this is a trailer, inside look at working titles, it'd be different. But it didn't show a lot of, someone with a control playing these games. It's just these kind of pre-rendered cinematic, experiences thing. So next we have Call of the City, which I love the art style.
Yeah, it looks amazing. It's got this like anime water painted style something going on here, so I like that. I'm not a walking sim guy. I've played a few of them, but this really does look like you're just going from point A to point B, and this is going to be one of those story-based games where it's going to be heavily reliant on the story, because there are some good walking sims. The Vanishing of Ethan Carter was really good. Even I think what was it? The Vanishing of that was Ethan Carter. What was the other one? Anyway, there's a bunch of walking sims out there that have like a a psychological horror mystery vibe to them, and they're really good. And this one seems like it might, but the art style's there too, like you said.
Yeah,
So
and it feels like they're really trying to just show off the art style more than anything. And again, it's something that, there's not a lot to talk about. It doesn't really show you very much in the first place. You're just kind of assuming what kind of game it's going to be. And like I said, the art style looks beautiful, and I think people are looking at Sea of Thieves. I don't know if you played any of Sea of Thieves, but that was a real fun experience. A lot of people started playing it on Twitch. So I do think there is a lot of cool possibilities when you open up a world like that to exploration. And I don't know if it's, again, we don't know if it's a co-op. We don't know if it's a multiplayer experience, single player. We just don't know. And there's not a lot of meat on the bone to a lot of these titles. The next one being Ascent, there was more to talk about and more to look at. It looks to be a top-down third-person shooter kind of game in this.
It's a twin-stick shooter from what I'm gathering.
In a very nihilistic, futuristic kind of capitalist nightmare future. And I feel like you're going to see a lot of those titles.
Yeah, I was going to say, I got a lot of Blade Runner vibes, and shit again. So I'm like, okay, I guess Cyberpunk is just the new frontier right now. So,
and I'm worried that this isn't going to be played out real quick, because I know Beyond Good and Evil is a game that no one has heard about for a long time. They've showed some trailers and some clips of it that also kind of has a similar futuristic flying around kind of setting.
I thought it was that at first before the
I was hoping that it was.
I was actually thinking it was that, and then when it wasn't, I was like, oh well, that's disappointing. People have been waiting on that game since God knows when.
For a long time.
Like, what's going on? So I don't know.
Again, I've never been a top-down shooter guy. It's never really been my thing. And again, that's not to turn people. I mean, if you're into this kind of thing, then it looks as cool as anything else you would see. I mean, it looks like you're going to be able to control more than one character, and you're going to have NPCs that you're going to be able to disperse orders to. That looks like it could be kind of fun. Maybe a lot of different weapon variables. I mean, there is a lot to glean from the trailer, but again, it's like another title that you and I just, don't have a whole lot of hardcore feelings on or about.
Now I do for the next one though.
Go ahead and jump on.
Oh my god! Okay, so The Medium. This is a psychological horror game, and I got some pretty huge Silent Hill vibes off of this. And you know what's funny? The soundtrack is done by Akira Toriyama, Japanese names. The guy that composes for Silent Hill, the guy that they let go. He is doing the soundtrack for this game. So
I can look it up. I'll look it up while you talk.
It starts. His first name starts with an A and his last name starts with Y. I love the guy. I can never remember his damn name, but everything this guy puts out is like the creepiest shit. I have all the Silent Hill soundtracks on my iPod, for God's sake. Like that's how memorable a lot of his musical scores is. But not just because he's on board, but because the trailer.
The name you were looking for was Akira Yamaoka.
There's so many.
Akira.
But
do you know anything about this game? I mean, is this the first time that you're hearing about it and seeing it?
Yeah. But there's a lot of clues in here that do make me think kind of a soft reboot for Silent Hill. They show in a point where this woman she's pregnant, and then all of a sudden she gets trapped in this other world. Looks a lot like the same world from Silent Hill, down to the effects of like the transition and the hell from there. So, like I said, this is just pretty much speculation, but I mean, clearly, if not part of Silent Hill, it's clearly inspired by it. So,
Yeah, and you know, it's another like the this and Call of the Sea. It's a trailer where it's just trying to show you the vibe of the game, and clearly this is a psychological horror thriller, and you know I like that too, and I'm really hoping that you know, in these next generation of consoles that people are going to, you know, really kind of play with genres and kind of stretch this out to see what's possible. Yep. And what exactly you can do with these different kinds of experiences. But again, I don't know much about the game. I don't know how it's going to play. There's another trailer with no gameplay. It's just, you know, yeah, like I said, trailers of what people are working on right now. This next game that we have here, Scarlet Nexus.
Scarlet Nexus.
Very on the nose because there's a lot of red and a lot of technological shit going on. So
this it literally feels like if Devil May Cry was an anime. It's a hack and slash. From what we've seen, instead of being a demon, this particular person has psycho or what's freaking telekinesis. Not telekinesis. It is telekinesis, right? Where you move shit with your mind. Yeah.
Yeah, or psychokinesis.
Psychokinesis. That's the word I was looking for. But yeah. So apparently this world is infested by creatures you can't kill.
Psychokinesis.
Yeah. Okay. This world is inhabited by creatures that couldn't be killed up until now, except this one person has psychokinesis that could somehow take down these.
Well, and that's what I was confused. You know, is it just him? So again, there's another trailer with gameplay, but at 51 minutes and 48 seconds of the trailer, it does show off some other hooded figures. So you know, in a traditional, I mean, it shows a girl. It looks like two different kinds of girls, three actually, and then two other dudes in the background. So it does. I mean, I'm wondering if at any point in time these characters are going to be playable.
Probably.
I would imagine that they are. I mean, it definitely has those JRPG vibes. So it does seem like the different characters are going to be important to that title. I'm hoping it lets you, like I said, use a lot of these players because in the next generation console, you should be able to flex your muscle enough to show different, kind of like Final Fantasy VII, like different combat play styles. You know, If the main character has psychokinesis, let me see some of the other characters do some different shit.
Right. Yeah, this is done by Bandai Namco. They basically handle like everything anime now.
Pretty much.
That's pretty much ever been published at this point. So, it has, like I said, the Devil May Cry hack and slash stuff. This is probably just, I don't know. I'm typically I don't buy these kind of games until they go on sale, because these games are these types of games are usually very short. They probably only last like 5 or 6 hours at the most. I'd like to see a hack and slash that had like a really, you know, investing story and stuff, but people aren't there for that. You know, they're there for the combat. So it looks interesting, but it's not something that I would pick up on day one.
Yeah. But by the way, this next game either. So, okay, it's basically you're shooting dinosaurs, dude.
Okay, yeah.
The second extinction of and listen, this does absolutely nothing for me. Like this is the equivalent of like another Fast and Furious movie. That's just this big, loud CGI jerk off fest that just is made to appeal to the base action goer, you know. Yeah, hey man, this is a game about shooting dinosaurs and shit. You know, there's a base level of fun to be had with it, but This does absolutely nothing for me. It's the type of game that you probably wouldn't even be able to convince me to play.
Right. I think this is to appease people who are fans of Turok, Dinosaur Hunter.
Yeah, which, by the way, that's what I thought this was.
I did too until the title came up. But it's clearly inspired by Turok. It's meant to go back to the base formula of shooting the shit out of dinosaurs, which, like you said, can be mindless fun, but it's not something that I would, partake in, if I had other more important games to play. This is, going to be a mindless macho bullshit thing, and I'm just like, okay, all right. I am curious about like some of the dinosaur designs. I actually like dinosaurs quite a bit, so I'm curious.
I used to love them growing up.
Yeah, and I still, whenever I'm bored, I look up dinosaurs because they're always finding new shit about dinosaurs even now.
Yeah.
So I am curious like about the actual models of the dinosaurs because I always think it's interesting when anybody tackles the subject about like how they physically look. But other than that, I'm not. I am because it looks like you're just going to be shooting a shit ton of raptors, and I'm not.
To me, it's just I couldn't give less of a fuck. Just not my speed, not my style.
Mine either.
Not really into it too much. And then the next one made me smile. It made me giggle a little bit. We have a brand new Yakuza title.
Yeah.
Which I never, I played Yakuza. I forget which one I played.
Mm-hmm.
It's endearing, especially of Japanese culture and stuff like that.
Right.
It's fun. It's a good time. It really gets crazy when it goes into more of the Japan style weird that goes into it, which apparently there's a lot of.
Oh, yeah.
It's a Yakuza like a dragon.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I love that they're even in the trailer just showing you, hey, this game is gonna go batshit crazy. Yeah. So, be forewarned. Have you ever? Are you a frequenter of the Yakuza series, Jeffrey?
I have played like 10 minutes of one of them, and I haven't touched it since. It's not a bad game. I think the combat can be fun. From what I tried, actually, I think PlayStation Plus was giving away a remastered version of, I think it was the first and second one put together or something like that. But I don't know. It's just it's a mindless beat 'em up. It's clearly like over the top Japaneseness, like you were saying. I love that kind of stuff when I'm in the mood for it. But like sometimes it's just like, okay, dude, dial it down a notch.
And I kind of felt myself, like wanting. You remember when that Mafia game came out? It was like it would let you play as like a mobster in the 20s and 30s. Like I would love to play a legitimate, modern day, almost like a GTA style Yakuza crime story. I would agree. Yeah, I would love that. Like, I mean, it's almost to the point like once it started doing all the other shit and the powers and pulling a bat out of the ground with spikes, I'm like,
that's what I'm saying.
This
like,
again. Yeah,
it's so fantastical, and I mean they could clearly go in any direction, like you were saying, like make it more grounded. Give us an actual story about the Yakuza. I mean, I'm sure there's historical information out there that they could pull from. This organization is still around and it's been around forever. So like just like they do with the Italian mob and the Irish mob, for like the Godfather and stuff. Give us something a little bit more grounded. But I realize the appeal of these kinds of games. People do come to it for the the over the top stuff, but to me it's like the old beat 'em ups I used to play. They're fun for a while, but after a while it just becomes mindless butt mashing, and that doesn't hold my attention for very much longer anymore. So
Yeah,
Not
it
my
does.
thing.
Yeah, it doesn't do too much for me either. And then the final game on our slate is one that we already spent a whole podcast talking
Yeah.
about.
Mm-hmm.
Is Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yeah.
And again, I understand the criticisms now because it's just you're
They
not
didn't
being
show
shown
anything.
anything. Like
Anything.
they showed off more of the landscapes. Apparently, you'll be
Yeah.
able to go to Stonehenge at some point in
Yeah.
time.
Which I thought was weird. But
Yeah,
yeah.
they show you the Viking boats again,
Yep.
but they don't really do a lot to show you how that part is going to work. They just show
Right.
your boat kind of moving inside of some snowy cliffs. There's no gameplay. There's nothing other than a few monuments and landmarks that they
Yeah.
clearly wanted to show you. Which is tried and true for Assassin's Creed wanting to remake real places. Other
Right.
than doing that, the trailer doesn't really do anything. It doesn't show you much more. You get to see and again, I don't know the name of the main character yet, but you see him getting um, off the boat and kind of running in, calling
Yeah.
on backups, backup NPCs. I'm assuming, and as we alluded to in our original breakdown of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, it does seem like the stealth is taking a back door, and
Yeah.
it's more like a medieval warfare simulator. I mean, they show ramparts and you're having to storm a castle and like lay siege to it. Like there is a lot of that this time around that is very different from Assassin's Creed, and
Yeah.
it does show off a little bit of that. And if anything, it just gets me excited as to what this game has the potential to become.
Yeah. They didn't show it in gameplay, but they did show that the dual wielding that they were talking about, because he has two axes at one point.
Right.
So that's really cool. I wish they actually hadn't told us that before we saw this, because I think that would have been a cool surprise to see, the main character dual wielding stuff. I think that would have been a cool thing. But like you said, they just looked like inner split like moments from the story, from like cutscenes, and I'm just like, that's not gameplay. I did look on Twitter really quickly because I was interested, and apparently the guys at Xbox knew that they fucked up because
Really?
Aaron, I forget his name, Aaron Bloomberg or whatever his name is, who is like the head of Xbox right now. He basically put out a tweet saying, we're sorry, we shouldn't have called it, we shouldn't have called it gameplay. The word gameplay should not have been in there at all.
It really shouldn't have. I mean, most of these trailers, even the gameplay itself, you can tell that it's pre-rendered stuff.
Yeah. He went on to say that if we had just called it Inside Xbox and nothing else, then I don't think people would have been as mad as they currently are. But even then, I would have been disappointed because by now, I think we need to start seeing more.
Jeffrey, out of all the games that you and I just kind of ran down, do any of them say AAA title to you other than we already know Assassin's Creed is going to be?
No, none of them. And don't get me wrong, I'm excited for a lot of these, but a lot of these look like B studio games that have potential, but I'm not. If this is showing us the Xbox Series X's capability and power, there's nothing on this list that would make me want to go out and buy this console on release day. And like I said, we don't even know how many of these, if any, are exclusives. So if I can get them on another console, because I'm already heavily invested in the PlayStation library because I have a crap ton of PS4 games. So as someone who does, if I can get these games on the PS5 and have my previous PS4 catalog with me, I'm going to do that. There's nothing on this list that makes me say, oh my God, I need a Series X right now.
Yeah, and to date, PlayStation 4 has sold more than Xbox One.
Yeah.
So going into this next cycle, Microsoft really needs something to flip things back over to their side. Now, before you and I got started here, I pulled up a list comparing the PlayStation 5 and what we know about its specs to the Xbox. Right. And you and I ran down a few of the things. We talked about CPU and GPU and memory and the memory bandwidth and the RAM, and all of the specs are known for the Xbox Series X.
Right.
We're still waiting on more information on some of the things with PS5.
Right.
But it seems like right now their main claim to superiority is that they're going to have just based on the specs a slightly more powerful console in a few different areas, specifically the CPU, the GPU, and I believe it was the memory, slightly more memory. So I mean, you have what is supposed to be a superior console that's a little more powerful, but you haven't shown anything that's going to drive sales of this, because if it's just marginally more powerful than the PS5, but PlayStation 5 has all the better, more well-known titles and the more exciting IPs, then it's still, they're not going to do anything to offset the current numbers, from the way they are now, to change that around next console cycle.
Yeah, and this is nothing new. Xbox has always had the advantage in terms of the power of their console. The power of their console is always ahead of PlayStation. Only slightly, but this is nothing new. This happens every console cycle. So this doesn't even surprise me. But like you said, they don't have any IPs to really hold themselves together. And that's kind of the issue, is that Microsoft, because it is, of course, owned by Microsoft, it's almost fighting itself, because you have Microsoft Windows as well. And a lot of these games for the Xbox are coming out on Windows. Yeah. So it's like...
And if you have a souped-up PC...
Why the hell would you?
Yeah, why... Yeah, you would play it on your computer.
Because you can get pretty much everything better on a computer. You can unlock the frame rates. You can, beef up the graphics to like 8K. Well, I mean, I think 8K is going to be a more modern thing now, but like, I know, like, right now there's a lot of games, that are locked at like 60 frames per second at like you 4K checkerboard, which is like, low res 4K. Yeah. But then people can go around on their computer and play it in 8K, and it looks a shit ton better. You know what I mean? So,
and also, if you look up Xbox Series X console, by the way, we're sounding like such Sony fanboys right now.
Yeah, and well, I'm not, and that's one of the other things I wanted to
I mean, I guess I am. Like, I have, I've always been a PlayStation guy, but I've always, I'm a games first guy. Like, that's why I was disappointed with this Xbox showing, because if there's a cool game, like, dude, if Scorn looks awesome, and it ends up being a fun title, I would want to play that, find a way to play that game, and if even looking,
if it was an exclusive, I mean, maybe
for sure, but again, if it's not, that doesn't really incentivize me to pick it up. And again, I'm trying not to be too unfair. I know this is early in the process. I mean, we still have a bunch of months left to go before either of these come out. But even if you look online at the console, like at the Xbox Series X console, it's just this big black square
brick.
Cube. How is
giant brick?
How does that fit into your entertainment system?
Yeah, I don't know if that's
I don't know either.
It might just be a dev kit design, because typically the dev kits are ginormous. Um, and it was true for the PlayStation as well. So dev kits always look terrible. So I'm hoping that's what it is. But if it's not, yeah, that design is not.
It's bad.
Yeah,
it's pretty bad.
And like I said, I know it sounds like we're harking on the Xbox, but I'm like you said, I'm more about the games, and nothing here specifically sold me on it. If they would have said Xbox exclusives, if they would have shown us like Halo, for example, or something unique to Microsoft, then I would have been a little bit more surprised. But as it stands, I'm just like.
And listen, Xbox fans were disappointed. You know, I mean, it's not like we're just taking shots here.
Right.
I like content and characters. It doesn't matter Marvel, DC, or Sony or Xbox. Just give me the good shit, man. I'm going to throw all my allegiances out the window for fun. If you have a good experience and a fun thing to play, then I'm down for it. It does seem as though they're going to share a lot in common. The Xbox and the PlayStation 5, they're both going to have their own versions of the share button, which Sony really had a hit on their hands with. But the PlayStation 4, it seems like they're only going to expand that. I know the Xbox now has a similar button on its control. So I don't know, Jeffrey. It's exciting times to be a video game fan because of this new technology that's coming down the road. But as of May of 2020, it's still, we don't know what to think. You and I were looking at a trailer for PlayStation 5 that has now disappeared.
Yeah, because it was a mock-up. It wasn't a real thing, turns out. But I did want to say that every console generation has a very, very rocky start. If you remember, for the PlayStation 4, it literally had almost nothing. It had like Ratchet and Clank and Knack, and that was it. So, and Knack wasn't anything special, and unless you're a Ratchet and Clank guy, which doesn't sell the console for me. So the PS4 had a very rocky start. So this is typical of consoles because, well, nobody understands the hardware quite yet. So it usually takes about a year or two before they really get into it. So for those people who are discouraged, I would simply say, wait. I know that's a shitty thing to say, but ultimately time is what's necessary here. And I'm sure there are a lot of things in the works that we don't even know about yet. In fact, they kind of hinted at that at the end of the presentation. They were like, wait until July,
And I'm sure they were disappointed that they didn't have any Halo footage to show.
No Halo.
I mean, that's their flagship franchise. I know, it's what you would buy an Xbox for.
Right.
And the fact that, it's been announced for a while. I don't even remember what the title is, but there's a new Halo title coming, and by 343 Studios again, and nothing to see here during this press conference. But yeah, man. So if you're rating this conference on a scale of 1 to 10, what are you giving it?
I'm giving it a 3. I hate to be mean, but I am giving this thing a 3. There were a few games in there that were like, okay, these are cool, but like you said, we didn't see any gameplay, so we don't know what a lot of these are. And the things that we do know that they are, I'm just not interested in. I'm not a sports guy, so Madden's not gonna do anything. Not to mention, Madden is gonna be cross-platform, so why they're even bothering with that is beyond me. Scoring looked cool. The Medium, just for the soundtrack alone, I'm sure will be worth it. Seeing as I have all his other stuff on here. So I was actually surprised. I wasn't expecting any horror content, so the fact that we got some horror games was pretty cool by me. But like I said,
Yeah.
it's nothing that's making me say, okay, I need to get this day one. So
yeah, I'll give it a 2 out of 10. I'll go even lower. I mean, Scorn and Scorn looked cool for the the graphic trailer that they had, and Assassin's Creed is a game I already knew about, that I was already excited about, which I didn't learn much more about, and the rest of them are just completely forgettable titles that I'm not gonna give a shit about or even consider. Like I don't. Again, Yakuza looked endearing, but it's not. If based on what I've seen, if you're not a Yakuza fan, or if you're already a fan of it, then you know what you're buying.
Right,
you know what you're getting into. Anyway. But I don't know if this is gonna make any new Yakuza fans. But I mean, who knows? Not a lot of incentive. They kind of came out with a whimper instead of bang. I'm hoping that Sony sees this and recognizes the flaws of Xbox and takes their time whenever they put out new content or trailers or what have you. But other than that, a pretty lackluster performance.
Yeah, and I would say that I think they jumped the gun a little too early. Because I don't think Sony's going to do anything major until the summer, so why didn't Xbox just hold off so they had a little bit more material? Maybe it's because everybody's stuck at home, so they figured they could get away with something. I don't know.
That's probably what it is.
I'm thinking people are starving for gaming content, so maybe that was their plan. But this is a pretty big flop, in my opinion.
It is a pretty big flop. Well, that was terrible, and we spent over an hour talking about all this terrible mess. So, welcome to the Cripple Connection podcast, y'all. That's us. That's what we do. As always, my name is Cody Lash, and you can follow me on Twitter at Cody Lack, CODYLAC. Jeffrey, how can I get a hold of you, man?
At Jeffrored, so at JEFFRORED. You can also find me on Facebook the same way.
Yeah, and so to anyone who might be listening, hit me or Jeffrey up on whatever your platform of choice is, however you know us, to get a hold of us. If you have something you would like to hear us talk about, message us and let us know. Hit the like button to get our content out there to be seen by more people. And if you're interested, to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications every time we post a new video.
Yep.
Until next time, my name is Cody. That's Jeffrey. Peace and love.
See you guys.